Hey everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we are continuing our top 50 games of all time with 30 through 21. We are going to get right down to the table. Got some great games on this section of the list. Be sure to go back and check the previous two sections as well. And yeah, let's get right on the table. And we're going to start with number 30. All right, number 30 this year is Flashpoint Fire Rescue. Now this was not even on the list last year. I think it was in the 70s if you extended my list all the way out that far. Flashpoint Fire Rescue is a cooperative game where you are firefighters, and it has, one of the things I like about it is it has lots of different steps as far as the rules go. You can play, the initial rules get you the family game, the family level rules, and then you have the experience game that you can add to it, and there's like lots of steps that you can add to continue pumping up the difficulty. My kids love playing this. We at this point play on almost full experienced rules. There's a couple of rules we leave out still, but here, let's get the board out. So with the board, you actually even have this side, which is the standard side, and you have a more challenging side. This side here has this kind of thin hallway here that really has some challenges. This side is much more challenging than the other side, but we usually play on this side. And you're going to have these fire tokens that come out, and you're rolling dice. And so, like for instance, let's say that something like this was already how the board was set up. Maybe I don't know, something like that. And you roll a dice, and now you're going to be putting smoke at 3, 8, and so just smoke would go there because there's nothing there already. But let's say that this was where it happened. Well, then you'd have an explosion, and actually what would happen then is you would have fire show up here, 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 and then this wall would be damaged. And so you have all these damage tokens. If you run out of damage tokens, you lose the game. If the whole point of the game is to try to save these people that are in there, and so you have these people that are going to be these question marks because they may be people, they may be false alarms. When you get to them, you can flip them over, and you're going to be dragging them out to an ambulance that's around the outside of the board. And if you save, I want to say 7 people, then you win, and if you lose 5 people, I think you lose. There's also a fire truck that is around the outside of the board that you can use to spray the building from the outside. You have all these special, or these characters with special abilities. So you can see you've got the hazmat technician, the driver operator, cabs firefighter, fire captain, paramedic, generalist, rescue specialist, and imaging technician. All those have their own special abilities that add to how this works. You can play up to 6 people, and it is a lot of fun. Great cooperative game, and like I said, with the built-in ability to kind of pare back the rules, it really lends itself to playing with kids and slowly introducing more complexity for the kids every game. And like I said, the only thing we don't play with now are these hotspot tokens, but we play with basically the full set of rules other than that. And that's Flashpoint Fire Rescue. Okay, so number 29, I don't have a copy of. It is PAX Pamir 2nd Edition. This is a game where there's 3 factions on the board, but no player is actually a member of that faction. It's more like they are aligning themselves with which faction feels the most advantageous at the time. It takes place in Afghanistan back when it was, I want to say, the Russians, the British, and the Afghanis that were in conflict in the area. And so depending on the board state, you're building roads, you're moving troops, all this stuff. And depending on the board state, you're going to align yourself with the group that you feel is most likely to prevail in the current state of affairs. And as this goes along, you'll be playing cards that may drastically change what's going on the board, and you're only scoring a couple points at a time. If you get far enough ahead of the other players, the in-game triggers immediately and you win. If you otherwise you play to a certain point, and then whoever has the most points wins. And there's constantly this push and pull of allegiances switching and moving back and forth, and you might think that switching allegiances right now is the right thing to do, and then the player before you does something that changes the board state, and all of a sudden, whoa, maybe I don't need to switch allegiances, or maybe I need to switch to, instead of going from Afghani to British, maybe I need to go Afghani to Russian. And you are constantly weighing the pros and cons of all that. The board, the presentation of the game itself is great. It has this cloth game board, and then it's just these chunky kind of rectangular pieces that represent both troops and roads, and you're moving through the different regions of Afghanistan, and it is a very thinky, very strategic game as you're weighing all your options, and you're getting all these different possibilities from the cards in your hand. A lot of fun. That's PAX Pamir 2nd edition. Number 28 is Euphoria, Build a Better Dystopia. Now, this does have the Ignorance is Bliss expansion in it as well. This is a game where your workers are your dice, and basically you're living in this dystopia. You're sort of one of the leaders, or you're kind of figuring out what's going on in this dystopia. And in this dystopia, there's essentially 4 different factions. You've got the underground guys down here, the Subterrans. You've got the Euphorians over here, the Wastelanders over here, and then up top in the clouds, you've got the Icarites. All right. So what's going on here? You are not actually any one of these factions. You are sort of vying to build power using all of these factions, and basically become the person. And so you're trying to become the person who places their authority tokens. Let's see if I can find. Let's get some of these out here. So you've got these 10 stars, which are your authority tokens. And as you place them out, that kind of represents you building your authority within this dystopian civilization. And so once you get all 10 of your authority stars out, that's how you win the game. You're going to be tracking your hand size over here, which is basically morale. And then right here is knowledge. And so with the knowledge, though, that's a little bit dangerous, because as you get workers, when you pull your workers back off the board, these are your workers. You're going to roll them. And, if you got just 2 workers, okay, so you rolled a 3 and a 1, that's 4 knowledge plus 6. You're still fine, because as long as you're under 16 knowledge, you're good. But let's say if we had 3 workers, and this is all the way at the max plus 6. All right, now we rolled 2, 6, that's 10, plus 16. So now you have to lose a worker, because what that represents is one worker has gained enough knowledge, all of you combined have talked amongst yourselves enough that one worker has decided, holy crap, this is a dystopia, I'm out of here, and they run away. And so then you have to gain new workers down here with the worker activation tank. And you're digging these tunnels, which are going to give you different resources. You can build these buildings, and these will start out like this, just blueprints, and you'll set these resources here, and you'll flip it over and build it. And then it gives you another action over here that you can do. And so you've got these cool these cool buildings like the Palace of Forced Altruism, the Together We Work Alone camp, the Bureau of Restricted Tourism, and the Arena of Peaceful Conflict. All kinds of dystopian sounding type places like that. Some humor built in there. Also down here you got the allegiance track. So this, you're going to be pushing along, and you can see if you make it to the end of a track, that's one way you can get a star. And there's all these different things that you can do to gain the authority that you're looking for, but also you're going to be placing your workers in, like, for instance, in a place like this, in the generator, that first worker, if it's a 4, then you're going to get an electricity, and you're going to go up once on the Euphorian, allegiance track. And then the next person that comes in there, let's say purple, brings in and puts a 2 down. Now the 4 plus the 2, they're actually going to be in the 5 to 8, so they're going to gain electricity, and they're going to lose 1 knowledge, which for the purposes of keeping workers is actually a good thing, losing that knowledge up there. And so it goes like that. Eventually you'll pull your workers back, but then you got these other spots here that can only have 1 worker at a time, but somebody else can come in and bump you out of it, so that's pretty cool. You get your worker back like that as well. Also, you have helpers, which is a fun thing. Oh, there's some set collection that goes on in this game too. You're collecting sets for various reasons, and of these things from the old world, basically. And where are the helpers? Here they are. Yeah, so you have all these different workers that can give you some extra benefits. You know, man to the broker, and they're each part of a different faction. And as they help you, then they'll unlock these abilities and stuff. So that's pretty cool. Lots going on here. Also, if you're in a solo play, the Ignorance is Bliss expansion provides solo play. It also has this extra board that comes with Ignorance is Bliss that adds some other stuff as far as getting the artifacts that I was showing you for set collection. But yeah, that is Euphoria. All right, next up we have the Great Wall from Awaken Realms. This is a worker placement game where one of the main sources of resources, it makes people think that it's a cooperative game. It's not at all. The main source of resources is going to be your enemies coming up against the Great Wall. But you don't really have to, like, if you work together, like really work together, it's not going to be a problem to fight off the enemies. And that's where some of the disconnect comes with some people who play the game, I've realized. Including myself, the first time I introduced it to a group, we had no problem defeating the enemies. But you're going to be using your workers. So you'll be using your workers to go to places down here on this side of the board. And you got the woodcutter, the quarry, the gold mine, the temple down here, and that's going to give you wood, stone, gold, and chi, which are your 4 main resources. You can build the walls here. You can recruit soldiers here. You can get tactic cards here. The tactic cards all have cool stuff going on with them. Let me pull some of those out real quick. So you got tactic cards like Emperor's Gift, where you can play when you attack with your soldiers, double the rewards for 2 of the attacking soldiers. You got Reinforcements, play when you deal the last wound to a horde card and get 4 extra honor. So there's, you know, those type of things. The way you win is by having the most honor, which is tracked along the side of the board there. You're going to be, every turn you're playing one of these cards, and each player will choose a card at the same time. You know, so maybe Despotism is the one the red player chooses. You put it face down, and they're going to be lining up in a row on the side of the board. And so all players will flip them over once they've chosen them, and then in T order, which is tracked right here, you'll actually place them out and choose whether you want to go first, second, third, fourth, fifth in that round. And you'll have, you know, these, for instance, Despotism has this first action where the player that plays it gets to move 4 of their clerks, which are their workers, anywhere they want to. And then next, all the other players get to move up the 2 of their clerks to any 2 locations. And then the player who played this again gets to do another action right here. You may perform an advanced action at any one location. So these cards keep all players involved because you can see most of them have this other players thing, or all of them, except for, that's right, Betrayal doesn't have that, but have something the other players are going to be doing during your turn as well. And once you play one of these cards, they're gone until you choose to recoup them, but as long as you don't recoup them, they're getting you extra points. So every card that you have that you've used and not recovered, you're going to be getting 2 victory points per round for that card still being gone. You also have all these extra advisors that you can use, and so you've got like the armored horseman. You may always save your horseman for free when they're killed in combat. I normally have to pay to do that. Wood carver. Each time you upgrade, you can upgrade a clerk or what are they called? Supervisor, foreman. What are they called? Anyway, you have these guys down here that are supervising the work. Every time you upgrade one of them, you can donate one of these resources equal to that level. And donating into the warehouse helps build walls. It also gives you honor. So all these different things. But the thing is, with these guys, you don't necessarily have to take them as active advisors. If you do take them as active, you get their special ability. If you don't, if instead you put them under your general like this, so you can have them next to the general as an active advisor, or slip them under the general like this, and now that's going to affect how strong the general's ability is. So these are called passive. Anyway, they're not active. I want to say they're passive advisors, or supporting advisors, and so they increase. So right here, during the overseer income step, draw 1 tactic card. Each time you play a tactic card, get 2 honor per advisor. So right now, with 1 support advisor, he'll get 2 honor every time he plays a tactic card. But if he had 2 advisors under here, now he's going to get 4 honor every time he plays a tactic card. And you can see how that will really start to stack up. Now he's getting 6 extra honor just for playing tactic cards. And so you can build that sort of engine. And there's all kinds of generals. They have this starting setup, they've got a little bit of story here, but they all have very cool abilities. With the walls themselves, you have 3 different wall sections. Each wall section can be built up 3 times. So that's the first level. And you can see this right here is where archers go. So you can only have 1 archer if you have no wall actually built there. Once you have the first wall section, now you have 8 defense built into this lane. You have 3 spots that archers can go. Once you put the next level on there, now you got 12 defense built in, and 4 archers can be on here. And the third level now has 16 built-in defense, and 5 archers can go on there. All right, and the reason you're building these anyway is because you are being invaded. And you got things like these spies, and so you have to cover up each of these spaces to kill the spies. The spies are going to do, basically they provide 7 attack against your wall if you don't get rid of them, but the person who gets credit for killing them is going to get 8 honor. You have pikemen, and see the issue with pikemen is that, so with spies, if you put a horseman on them, they're going to cover them up like that, right? But with pikemen, there's no way for horses, because you can't go diagonal, so there's no way for horses to attack pikemen, which is thematic, because the whole idea of pikemen is they can take down cavalry. And then here you've got shield bearers, which this horde card cannot be attacked with arrows because they've got their shields. All right. Here you got some infantry, some brutes. Let's see, some of these have special abilities. Let's find one of the ones that are, so here, the assassin. Every soldier killed with this horde card cannot be saved, because assassins obviously are going to be taking them out. And there's one that I really wanted to show you, the leader. It was a huge pain. Yeah, here you go. The leader, the defense value of this wall section is halved, rounded down. This effect is cumulative. So the leader by themselves, only to attack, right? But they cut this would only be 8, basically the same as if it was just the lower level. And when you've got rows stacked up with 3 horde cards trying to get through, having that halved is an enormous problem. So a lot going on here. I really like it. The key is getting people's minds wrapped around the fact that the horde cards are a resource. More like it might be beneficial for you to allow a wall to be breached, because it's going to kill a bunch of your opponents rather than you yourself. So all that is stuff to be taken into account. I have a lot of fun with it. That's the Great Wall. Next up, we've got Clank in Space, a deck building adventure. Now, this is a cousin to Clank, or maybe even a brother or sister to Clank, but it is different for sure. So a lot of the same ideas apply, but the board itself is this modular sort of board where you're going to be kind of setting it up like this. And there's different ways you can set it up. And let's see, let's get this so you can kind of see what's going on here. So you can see this is a spaceship that you are invading. I don't know if that's right. Where you're sneaking onto it, trying to steal from it. So there you go. So you got this spaceship, right? And over here is the exit. You're sneaking on right here. And then you're going to work your way through it, through all these different security checkpoints and locks and stuff. And you've got this little guy. You're working your way through it. All the players are trying to get the most victory points by stealing the best stuff, basically. And over here, you could get this. Where would it be? This down here, it's worth 10 victory points at the end of the game. Or this thing right here is worth 15. And so as you play through, you're also going to be collecting points along the way. You're going to be building out your deck. Everybody's deck starts with cards in it like Hack, Access, that gives you movement. Hack gives you purchasability. Stumble is going to cause you to generate one Clank. Let's see, where's some attack? Is there any attack? There might not be any attack in. Okay, so in your starting hand there is no attack, but as you purchase things or beat things, you'll gain attack like that. And there's all kinds of hilarious things in here that are like nods to different sci-fi stuff. Got let's see, Don Uno here. The first rule of smuggling is don't get caught. It's also the second and third rule. So, Battle School Genius. Let's see, the Baron. There's some very clear. There's a Space Pirate, Trophy Hunter. Okay, clearly that guy's a predator. He's one ugly bug hunter when you can see him. So yeah, like all this stuff that's very tongue-in-cheek, very dark Jaidu, so nods to different sci-fi stuff. But as you grab these, they're going to let you start doing different things, different abilities, but all along the way, you're also going to be generating Clank. So as you generate Clank, you'll place it down here, and then at certain points you'll end up throwing it in this bag, and then at other points in the game you end up having to draw from this bag, and if you draw, all right, there, that's nothing, right? So that's a good thing. But there's also red cubes that end up in this bag, and so there's a red cube which is not good, and it has, this guy over here starts attacking you and everything, and the main bad guy starts attacking you, but you start working your way up this track, which causes more problems for you. And then when you draw your cube, so let's just say you did draw a white cube from it here, then up here is your health track, and you would start putting these white cubes out here, and if you make it all the way up to the skull, you die. If you manage to get back to this section of the ship when you die, then you still get some credit. You don't get full credit for getting out, but you get some credit. If you make it all the way to the escape, then you get full credit. And when you start grabbing stuff over here, you'll be pissing off the main bad guy, so it's going to become more difficult for you. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. You can teleport, you can get keys and health packs and all kinds of stuff. But the really cool thing is drawing from this bag and seeing what happens, and that's Clank in space. All right, so next up we have Oath, Chronicles of Empire and Exile, coming in at number 25. Now, this one, I feel like I would love, like this game would be so much higher if I could find a group to play consistently. The problem is my group right now is playing through campaign games. We just played through a Kingdom Death campaign until we got TPK'd out of it, and now we're getting ready to start Madara. So we don't, and this isn't a campaign game, but it does require repeat plays to really see the benefits of what you're doing. It is a complex game for sure. Playing solo was fun, but not enough for it to be worth it in my mind. For solo, this is definitely one that's going to be better with multiple players. You are playing through as, so you have one person who is the Chancellor, all right? Everybody else is starts the game as an exile usually. You can become a citizen through various means, but most of the time you're playing as an exile, and you are on this, I mean, the production here is just beautiful. So you have this. I mean, this is what the map, like, this isn't like some special play mat. This is what comes with the game. This is the map. And you have the hinterland, the provinces, and over here you've got the cradle, and you've got these different locations. So all these different locations that can come out, right? But when you start the game, certain ones will be face down, certain ones will be face up. But you have the standing stones, and everything has these slightly different abilities on here. You've got the Shrouded Wood, the Narrow Pass. Mountain, Great Slum, marshes, all these cool places. The artwork is gorgeous, by the way. You have these different visions that will come out through the world deck as you're drawing from it. And, in the world deck, you've got these different suits. There's, let's see, let's come down this way a little bit. You've got Discord, Arcane Order, Hearth, Beast, Nomad. Each of those suits have sort of a focus on what they do. Right now, my world deck is much heavier. I believe we have almost no Nomad left in the world deck, and it's much heavier in some other stuff because of what's happened as I've played the game. You can see over here, in here, these are all other cards that could end up in the world deck but aren't right now. You got these dispossessed cards that are all cards that have left the world deck. Eventually they could come back through various means, but for the most part they've left. And you've got all these combat dice here. You play as these guys that are, you've got one. So when you're playing, this is actually you. And then these are your war bands, I think is what they're called, war bands. And you use them to hold on to certain locations, to attack locations. The Chancellor is trying to hold on to everything he's got. The exiles are trying to do different things. As you do these visions, so with this one, you win if you have Vision of Faith. You win if you hold the Darkest Secret, and at least 3 visions have been drawn from the deck. Whereas with the Vision of Conquest, you win if you rule the most sites and at least 3 visions have been drawn from the deck. So in addition to that, over here on this area right here, this is the round tracker, right? Once you hit this round track, the Chancellor is going to start rolling a die. If he rolls a 6 here, he wins. Here, if he rolls a 5, he wins. A 3, and then finally the game's just over after 8 rounds if he hasn't rolled anything. And again, if the Chancellor is still currently winning at that point, the Chancellor would win. So it's all about trying to take the Chancellor down. You have your main resources here are going to be these books, which are secrets. So you have these book tokens that are secrets, and then you also have these coins that count as favor. It is just a lot of fun. It plays up to 6 people, which is pretty awesome as well. And the main problem with the game is the complexity in teaching it to people, and the fact that it really, as you play multiple games, you start to see a kind of emergent narrative develop in your history with the game. Oh, and don't forget, there are these various items that you can get. Horned Mask lets you swap one of your face-up advisors with a card at your site. And, you've got the Bandit Crown, the map, the dowsing sticks, draw a relic, take it, or put it on the bottom of the relic deck. So there's so much going on here that I'm going to hold on to this game until I get a chance to play it 3 or 4 times with the same group and see if that develops it into something better. As it is, I'm not going to play it solo, but I know everything about this game screams this is something that could be top 10 for me. I've just got to take the time to play it with a group. But this is Oath: Chronicles of Empire and Exile. All right, number 24 is This War of Mine, the board game. This is, it's listed as 1 to 6 players, but honestly, it's a solo game in my mind. So you're going to have, there's numerous different scenarios in here. Let's get to the board itself. Oh, well, actually, let's look at the book of scripts. All of these are encounters, basically. This book full of encounters that are going to have significant effect on what's going on. Let's see. This, I believe, yeah, so this is how you set the game up. Here's some 3D printable things I did. All right, so here's the board. And it is double-sided. I've only ever played on the one side, because this side is much more difficult. This board is huge. So you see, this is your hideaway, basically. You are just regular civilians caught up in the middle of a urban war. And you're going to have objectives, visitors, characters, all this stuff going on inside the building itself. When you start the game, it's got rubble, closed doors, all this stuff on here that you're going to be working your way through. There's all this very real life stuff that you're going to be interacting with, discovering as you work your way through this building, as you go out and explore the city itself, trying to find supplies. You get visitors. I believe these are all visitor cards. You get visitors, beggars, doctor, please help us, all this type of stuff. You've got, let's see. So you got different events that are going to happen. You're working your way through to your final objective. Let's see here. What are these? These are. Hold on. Let's split these up. Okay. So here you can actually improve, because cold is an issue. You got to watch out for how cold it gets. You got to make sure you stay fed. You can, improve your crude stove to a cooking stove, improve your deadfall trap to a cage trap, improve your moonshine still to an alcohol still, build a reinforced door, improve metal workshop to gunsmith workshop. So all these different improvements you can work on in here. You've got these locations like a city hospital. It's got these cool components in here too that are really neat. Here are all the different survivors you can be. Let's see. Yeah, so you got characters like Marin the garage owner, Marco the firefighter, Katia the reporter. All right. And then these color cards have to do with how certain things are resolved. You got, the fate cards. There's so much going on here. Oh, that's right. You even track, so you track misery, you track wounds, you track illness, hunger, fatigue. So there anything else under here? You got things like lockpicks and saws and shovels that you're gonna take with you when you go places. You got different types of medication. You got meds and chems and cigarettes, you know, pistols, hatchets. So much going on here that really it's like a survival simulation. Oh, and don't forget about stuff, you know, you got moonshine, which is going to be good for morale, and then you've got raw food down here, vegetables. It's so in depth. I really need to get one of these on the channel. I really should do a how to play for this, really. Maybe that's something I'll start working on. This one is just, it's a ton of fun, and there's so much going on, and it really does, I can't say enough, it feels more like a simulation than a game in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously it's gamified, but wow, some of the decisions you have to make, some of the choices regarding whether you're going to have food or medicine, or whether you're going to, you know, who you're going to go out to explore, and if that's worth the risk of leaving people behind in the shelter basically unguarded, you know, and so many very, very interesting choices. And again, there's interesting choices just in trying to figure out how to set up your shelter itself. Forget about even going out, but you have to go out to get more resources, especially once you've kind of cleared the shelter. Number 23 is Tapestry, a civilization game. Now, this is a abstracted civilization game, to be perfectly honest. Let's get the board out here first. All right, so here is the main board. In the city here, players are going to be exploring and putting out land. Let's see if I can find the land. So yeah, you'll end up putting out chunks of land like this and sort of exploring as you go around. And as you do that, you'll also be putting out these outposts. You know, so you got these green outposts for the green player. So as you're doing all of that, you'll also be moving up these various tracks. You got science, military, technology, and exploration over here. I do have the expansion in this box as well. I haven't played with it yet, so we're not really talking about that, but there is an expansion. There's two expansions. I have one of them, and it adds the arts track to the board as well. And you got these different dice that you'll roll for various reasons. For instance, with the science track, you'll roll this die to see if additional things happen on other tracks, because, you know, as you're going up science, you might have breakthroughs in these others, and so, you know, that might have you move up on the military track or something like that. You've got these other dice that you'll be rolling for extra victory points, extra resources, and on the real, most of the game, though, is going to take place on your player board. And you're going to have these civilizations. You can have the relentless, the gamblers, the collectors, the merrymakers, the isolationists, the leaders, all these different civilizations. And you'll also have one of these boards that you're going to be building out as well. And so as you play, you'll have one of these, and you're going to start with, for instance, let's see, so all of these are covered. You got these buildings here, and so you'll start with all these spots covered up except for the initial, you know, so your civilization starts with barter, symbology, ceremony, and hunting. But then as, you know, you do different things with the tracks and get different bonuses and stuff, maybe you'll build one of these houses, which unlocks language as well, and you're going to put it on the board somewhere. Also, though, as you eventually get to the point where you can build wonders, you're going to have these things that come out on your board as well and take up some room like that. And so you're trying to build this up as you want to complete rows, complete columns. You may have different tapestry cards that are going to give you different bonuses and stuff. You know, so maybe you end up with the commercial center or the monuments. found art, you know, so, and granted that this is from the expansion. Let's show you one that's not from the expansion. Boast of superiority. When played, for each advancement track where there are no further advanced tokens than yours, gain 4 victory points. So that's, you know, if you're the farthest along these advancement tracks. And so these come out and, you know, sort of build the story of your civilization. And you'll end up usually with 4 of them. I think there's a couple of scenarios where you could, a couple of abilities or possibilities where you could end up with more or less, but you usually end up with 4 of them. And so maybe this is the story of your civilization: boast, you know, maker, fire, boast of superiority, academia, and then revisionism. And each of them, you know, either going to have a when played or a this era ability. I think that's all there's no extra stuff besides that. But this era stuff can be pretty powerful too. So, for instance, for this entire era, whenever you invent technology, one of these cards, whenever you invent over here, or gain a Tapestry card, gain 3 victory points. And so as you're vying for a position on here and then trying to fill out your personal territory as best you can, you know, there's going to be some player interaction there. There's going to be a lot of competition on the advancement tracks. And, and really cool, you can even, with the exploration advancement track, you can eventually end up in outer space as well and doing all kinds of stuff up there. So a lot of cool stuff in here. Don't go into this thinking this is a Civ game, in terms of, like, a lot of times when people think of civilization games, they think of these massive, you know, sprawling, like Civilization the game, or Nations, or one of those type civilization games. It's not that. This is much more abstracted out, and I mean, it's going to take about an hour to play, maybe 2 hours, but it is a lot of fun, and I love the look of it, and it's actually a really fun game solo as well. It's got, you know, the Ultima Factory is responsible for the solo version of this, so a lot of fun going on here, and so much variety with all these different civilizations, all these different Tapestry cards. A lot to look at and a lot to explore. Number 22 is Brass Birmingham. Now this is a game where you're basically a business tycoon, right? And 1800s, I think, is about the time frame when it's happening. And it is one of those games where when you've got a new player, such as myself, the most common phrase you're going to hear is, no, you can't do that. Because there are a lot of complex interactions with how things work, what needs to happen before something can work, and it really helps to have somebody who knows the rules well, which I was fortunate enough to have someone who knows the rules well playing when you're learning the game the first time. You are connecting these different cities together, trying to build trade routes, trying to build supply lines, trying to generate and then sell off different goods and everything. I think there's 4 different goods in the game that you're working with, and you're upgrading buildings, and then you've got one phase, and at the end of that phase, when you go into phase 2, completely, basically almost entirely wipe the board of everything you've done and start fresh. Very interesting how that works. Interesting how the things you've got to consider when you're going into that second phase. And maybe even some of the lessons you learned from the first phase, as far as, okay, I need to try something different because what I was doing that first phase was not working. Gorgeous board. It was revamped about 5 years ago, the artwork was, and it is gorgeous now. There's 2 versions, Birmingham and Lancashire. And I've never played Lancashire. I've only played Birmingham, but it is phenomenal. Definitely one I want to have in my collection at some point. Clearly, I don't right now. But at some point in the future, I would love to have it because I think my game group would love playing it. But that is Brass Birmingham. Number 21 is Midara, Unintentional Malum Act 1. Now, this one has fallen a bit. I also haven't played it since the last time the list was made. And as it turns out, tonight, my main game group is getting ready to start the campaign. We're going to play all the way through this campaign, which I'm very excited about. I've started the campaign a while ago solo, but then 1.1 came out, and I just decided to stop until I got 1.1, and then I decided to wait for my game group to finish our KDM game, our KDM campaign, which we recently got TPK'd out of it. So now we're going to be starting this. First, before I open this box, you have to see this. This is the campaign book. This is the adventure book. This is the story. So as you play through this, all of this is narrative. All of this right here, all of this is narrative. And so you play through this thing, and it's like playing through a novel. And you know, so you're reading all this, and you're reading all this, and all this, and all this, and then eventually you get to the actual scenario, and you play through the scenario, and then you got another scenario, and then you got some more text, and it is an actual in-depth story. Now, there is an app, the Foreteller app, I believe is what it's called, that has all of this narrated for you, and I will absolutely be using that during the campaign that we're playing, so that we're not actually reading all this out loud. But I mean, I love the fact that it is essentially play through a novel. And of course, you got all this stuff that you have the little red lens so you can read it, and that's really cool. I mean, this map right here is huge. Wait till you see how big these blocks are. This is an enormous map. So very excited to get into this. Now, let's open the box. I'm, of course, only going to be able to kind of touch on what this game has to offer. Oof. All right. Let's see here. Let's turn this around this way. All right, so this is the diagram book. This is, sometimes you'll have secret spots that open up during a mission, and so then you go to a certain diagram. That way you don't see it ahead of time. So that's cool how they protect that. You've got this bounty that you can somehow get a hold of. I haven't found that yet in the campaign. This is a crawl book, which is if you want to do like individual scenarios, I believe, but it's not connected to the actual campaign. So over here, we've got all these different kinds of units. You got the Waterloa, the Gebaldon, the Enslaved Spirit, and these are commands. So these are actually versions that you can actually command on your side, I believe. But they have, let's see, okay, here are the adventurers. So these are all people that eventually you can play as, from what I understand, because these are all adventurers. You know, you've got your version as well, or your characters that you start the game as: Nightingale Arson, Zeke Zhang, Remy Moretti, Rook Lars. So you start the game as them, but then you've got these other ones that apparently at some point you're going to unlock and be able to play as. So that's cool. All this organization was stuff that I had 3D printed, by the way, so that does not come with the game. You're definitely going to want some sort of organization stuff. You have these giant monsters that you'll end up fighting. Here are the tiles. They're, of course, double-sided, so twice as many, and very cool, colorful artwork on these. You can see all kinds of stuff going on there. You do have terrain considerations when you're playing, elevation considerations, a lot of complex considerations for the combat and everything. You know, just a ton of minis, of course. You have sealed stuff that I haven't gotten into yet that I'm excited to see what all comes from there. And then let's just look at some of these. So these are, let's see, these are common, right? So you've got mundane, you've got common, you've got, those are mundane, unique, you got rare and uncommon as well. Yeah, there's some uncommon stuff. But so just to give you an idea, we'll just go through some of these common items here. So these are all what are called core items. So you have ghost canister, aligning machine, gene tweak, right? So they're all core. Then you've got these armor items. So you've got a hoodie of deflection, all right, perpetrator's catsuit, barbed breastplate. Then you've got these are consumables, right? So you've got the demon voucher, you've got Augur's pager. You can see there's a ton of stuff here. Here are a bunch of weapons: flintlock pistol, Alien Edge, Zanvato, figurehead of Bromstead, you know, so lots of Looty Booty Pounder. Okay, so the Assassin's Crossbow. Like obviously haven't even seen a lot of these. I spent most of my time in the rare, or no, I'm sorry, the mundane stuff when I played the last time. Here you've got relics, all right, and then finally back here we've got some. Oh, these are somewhere on one side. It's a weapon. If you flip it, it's a relic. So that's why these are kind of in the back here. And then here's another common relic back there. I'm not sure why I had that separated. The dice. Let me grab this. So the dice, you have this back here to show you what all the different faces are of the dice, because you'll be able to upgrade as you play along and see what, you know, this helps you kind of see what you want on those die, or which dice you may want based on what they have on them. Also, the characters themselves, they have special abilities, so it kind of gives you a direction to go in as far as how you're going to build your character out, but you don't have specific classes. You really are building your own class. So you have the martial skills, and so as you level up, you can gain more martial skills. Or you and nothing is pre-assigned. You know, you've got, I believe there's six different ones. Here are the subterfuge skills. All right, these are the Cruor skills. So there's gonna be like some magic stuff going on here. These are Sanctus, so more like healing magic for that one. Assemblage, kind of summoning magic. The Cruor, by the way, is like destruction magic. And then was there other stuff? Oh, these are upgrades that you can get. There's just so much going on, y'all, and I cannot wait to finally be able to dig into it. Playing, you have to play with 4 characters, so playing solo is a bit of a beast, and that was part of why I kind of stopped. But I am excited, very excited to get back into this with my game group. So there you go. That's number 21, Midara. So there you go. That is number 30 through 21. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to come back in just a few days, 4 or 5 days, for 20 through 11. And we've got other great stuff coming up. We've got a gameplay of Taro in 1943, which is a solo-only World War II game about the Pacific conflict between the United States and Japan. We've got Tales from the Loop coming up. We've got Waste Knights, Anno 1800, lots of great stuff. Perdition's Mouth, that one I'm really excited to get into. Lots of great stuff coming up. Can't wait to show it to you. Be sure to come back and check it out. Subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss anything. And until next time, you're bored online, bored offline.